Hey everyone, welcome back to another video in the tutorial series to create a clothing system for Unreal Engine games. Now in the first video I explained about the working of the example which I have created, and I also talked a little bit about the assets which I have used, which are Dash 3D assets, and I think I also talked about the license agreements which you need to be aware of before using the assets in your projects. So in this video I'm going to walk you through the blueprints which I have created to make this example work, and apart from this I will also add another set of clothing to the system which is implemented, so that you can see how it can be done. So I'm just going to show you again how the example is working. There is a cube which is actually an interactive object, and you can change different outfits by clicking on different buttons, and you can also apply different poses. So I'm not going to cover the poses over here because it's fairly easy, but what I will do is I will tell you everything about the outfits and the clothing assets which I have used, and about the blueprints which are working in the working behind the scenes to make all of this happen. Alright, so there is no particular order in which I think I can show you what I have done. So I guess first I will show you what is going on in the level blueprint. So in the level blueprint, in the event begin play, there are three functions which are being called. First is the create clothing map, and then create pose map, and then create main character. So what I have done is I have added all the all the references of the clothing assets into a dictionary, and I have assigned a name to all those items as a group, so that we can access all the resources by simply providing a name in the form of a string. So in the create clothing map there is a dictionary which is clothing items, and this dictionary is in the class of the third person BP character, which comes preloaded with this template. So this code is simply fetching the reference of the player character, and then it is adding the different outfits to this dictionary. Now all the three different outfits are being added in the form of a structure. Now this structure has three properties of the type skeletal mesh. So the first property is for the hair, second property is for the first clothing item, and the third property is for the second clothing item, and I have assigned a name to them. So a dictionary is basically a key value pair. So the key over here is the name of the outfit in the string format, and the value is in the form of this structure, struct underscore clothing items. And it's pretty easy actually. You just need to set the reference of the clothing item over here, which you have imported from Dash Studio, and yep, that's it. So okay, I will talk about this function later. Now I will show you how the UI is working, because when the example is running, then we can change different outfits using this UI. So in the code, whenever the apply outfit button is clicked, then it first fetches the reference of the player character. Now this entire code is not very efficient. I mean, there are a lot of ways in which this code can be optimized, but in order to keep things simple and understandable, I have I have used repeated references of the player character. Although what you can do is you can basically cache this reference somewhere of the player character, and then you can simply fetch the reference from that cached data. Anyways, now whenever the apply outfit button is clicked, then the player character, the first player character is fetched, and there is a function in the character which is named as apply outfit. Now this function will simply apply the outfit over the character. Now let's go to the definition of this function. Now this function belongs to the third person BP character. There are basically two functions which I have created, which are being used to apply outfits and poses, and we don't really need to be concerned with this apply pose because it's working the same way as this one in terms of fetching the data from the dictionary. Now whenever the apply outfit function is called, we need to supply an argument, an input argument, which is the outfit name. And as you can see over here, when the apply outfit 1 button is clicked, then we have there's the outfit name in the string format, which is outfit 1. Similarly for outfit 2 and outfit 3, there is the argument name supplied. Now what will happen is the code will simply search the dictionary item having this string value as key, and when it will find it, it will break this value into a structure so that we can fetch the individual structure items. Now okay, so before I proceed any further, I need to show you how the different meshes for the clothing and hair assets are being implemented or are added to this to the character. So for that I will need to open up the custom character which I have created. Now this character is simply a copy of the third person BP character. So what I have done is I have simply replaced the mesh which is being used for this character. So instead of the default the mannequin mesh, I have used the mesh of the character which I have imported from the Dash Studio. Now I will open the blueprint. Now in the blueprint, this is the mesh, this is the default mesh which comes in this template, but I have added 3 skeletal mesh components as a children to this mesh component, and I have named them as clothing item 1, 2 and 3. So this is a very basic example. So if you have more clothing items to add at a single time, then you can add more meshes over here so that you can apply more items. And the first item is being used to set the hair, and the second and third items are being used to set the clothing items. Okay, so over here these 3 skeletal meshes, clothing item 1, 2 and 3, are being used, and the code is simply setting the meshes for these skeletal mesh components which we have added to this custom character. So it's pretty simple to understand. What is happening is we are simply getting the reference of the clothing item skeletal meshes, and then we are simply setting the new mesh information for these skeletal meshes. So for this first one we are setting the hair, and for the second and third we are setting the meshes for the clothing items. And yep, that's it. It's pretty simple. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So okay, I can also show you the structure for the clothing items. Now this structure simply contains 3 properties, and these properties are named as clothing item 1, 2 and 3, and they are of the type skeletal mesh. Oh yeah, I think I need to get back to the level blueprint because I needed to show you how the character is being added to this level. So first of all, the character is being created over here, and the class is for this third person female character, which is the female character we have been using to apply the clothing assets. And we are setting the transform over here to set the position, and so the third person character is having a property which is called as main character. So whenever the character is being created, we are also applying the reference of that newly created character to the property which is in this third person character, which is this main character. So whenever I am creating something which I think I need to remove later on, then we need to be able to get the reference of that easily. Now there are several different ways to do it. The easiest way is to simply add the properties in the player character. It's not very efficient, but for small projects it works pretty fine. And I have done this for this wardrobe UI too, as well as for this clothing item and poses dictionaries. So whenever the character is created, then its reference is applied to this main character property in the third person BP character. And what is happening after that is we need to set the master pose components for the 3 clothing items. And by doing this, we are making sure that the animations and poses which is applied to this parent mesh of this third person female character will be applied to these clothing items as well, and we will not have to reapply the poses again. And after that, we are applying a default outfit by supplying an outfit name, and then I have applied some rotation to rotate the character. And yeah, that's it about this function. And as I have already told you, these functions are being called from the event begin play. So whenever the level will be opened up and when this event will be called, then these functions will be called. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to add a new set of clothing assets to this example, and I will use the blueprint structure which I have created to implement the new clothing assets as an outfit for the character. So for this purpose, what I will do is I will export this preloaded character and clothing assets from the Daz Studio, and I will then import all of these things as individual items into an Unreal Engine project. So I have already told you about the Daz Studio. You can download this entire tool for free from daz3d.com, and you can play around with different 3D assets. So to export this character, I will use this export menu item, and then I'm going to name this as outfit 4. It is going to be exported in the form of an FBX component or an FBX file. So when you export something from Daz, then it asks you to set different export options, and they are pretty much self-explanatory, but I'm still not sure about a couple of them, but checking them seems to help in successful export and import of the asset. So I will take a detailed look at these items before telling you anything about them. So we need to export the figure itself, which is this character, and then we don't need to export animations, but checking it doesn't hurt. And we also need to export the morphs of the clothing assets. So the textures are going to be collected in a separate folder. The clothing is going to be merged into the figure skeleton. This item needs to be checked, because if we don't do that, then the assets will not be imported into Unreal Engine. and we need to check these three items to allow degraded skinning and degraded scaling, and then sub-d information. I don't know what these two are for. Sub-d information is it is for saving the subdivision information of the polygons along with the FBX format. I'm not really sure how this is going to help, but checking this item is not hurting. So what I think is any extra information which can be exported with this asset is a good thing. So now we just need to click on the accept. Alright, so after this, what you need to do is you need to open up the Visual Studio Community Edition 2017. Now why we need to use this is because we need to separate all the different components, and then we need to import them as individual assets in Unreal Engine. So there are several different tools out there, but this IDE is free and you don't need to pay anything for it. You just need to register register on Microsoft as a user, and then you will need to log in into it to be able to use it. And what I will do is I will open up the exported file, and it's pretty easy to save the individual components by using this tool. You will see. Oh, and one other thing, when you will download the Visual Studio Community Edition, then you will also need to download the libraries for game development, because only then you will be able to import the 3D assets into this IDE. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the items which we don't need. So first I'm simply going to keep this shirt, and then I'm going to save it as a different name. And now let's open this outfit again. We can also do Ctrl-Z, but it's easier for the demonstration. So now I'm going to repeat the same steps again, and I'm just going to save this one as pants. We don't need the hair because we already have one. Alright, so now what we need to do is I think the clothing assets are over here, right? So I'm going to create a new folder. Let's call it outfit 4, and then I'm going to import the two assets. Now when importing it, we don't need to import the skeletal mesh because we are going to use the skeleton mesh of the character. Now this is an entire topic in itself about the skeleton of the meshes. Right now just understand that we need to apply this mesh on the already loaded character skeleton, and we need to import the mesh too. And let's just leave everything as it is, and let's just click on import all. So what will happen is when you will import an asset like this, then you will need to fix the textures too. I'm not going to do this for this example because the textures which are loaded only consist of a single texture. It does not have the different maps like normal maps and bump maps, specular maps, etc. You can browse to the folder where the DAZ assets are kept on your local hard drive, and then you can copy and paste those individual files from there, and then you can import them into Unreal Engine. So over here there is a message which is saying the following bones are missing from the bind pose. Now what happens is right now this asset which is being imported is missing different bones. Now the Unreal Engine is trying to match every every bone with the skeleton mesh, which we have mentioned, which we mentioned while importing this asset. But the thing is, this asset is only having the bones of the upper body. It does not have the bones of the lower body. So the bones which are missing are not being matched by Unreal Engine, so it is showing us a kind of a warning that it's not matching. But I mean, we already know that it will happen, so it's pretty okay. And now I'm going to import the second asset, again repeating the same process. Then click on import all. We will again see the same message but with different bones which will not be matching. This time these bones will be of the upper body or the upper skeleton. The lower body bones will match because this is the asset for pants. And right, so as you can see by looking at the names of the bones which are or the joints which are not matching, they all belong to the upper body. And I mean, if you don't already know much about the mesh skeletons, then you don't need to pay any more attention to what I'm saying right now. Just understand that the meshes consist of skeletons which help in basically animating stuff and also doing several different things like applying meshes, etc. Alright, so now we have imported the new outfit with the two assets. So now what I will do is I will go to the level blueprint, and in the clothing map I'm going to add another item to the dictionary, and let's name it outfit 4, and then I'm going to have another structure. So now we need to leave here as it is. For shirt I'm going to use this outfit for shirt, and for pants I'm going to use this outfit for pants, and that's it. Let's hit compile and save. Alright, so now we need to do one last thing, which is to add a new button to the UI so that we will be able to apply the outfit. Now in the designer, what I will do is I will simply copy and paste this button to the vertical box. Oh, I think I need to move it. Okay, now let's change the label and also the button name, BTN outfit. Now on the click event we can simply copy and paste this entire code or blueprint. So I guess you already know that this blueprint will eventually be converted into C++ code. I mean, it's just there to help us to do things quickly, and for folks who are not much into programming. So apply outfit 4. Actually I have copied the wrong function. It is for the apply pose. I have to copy this one, and then the target is the character, and then let's also rename the outfit, and yeah, it should work. Let's see. Yeah, let's save everything which is imported. Alright, so when we will interact with this object, and when I'm clicking on apply outfit 4, then this new outfit is being applied to this character. It's pretty cool, huh? And then we can also apply several different poses. Yeah, so there is actually one thing which I think I need to tell you about. Right, so as you can see in this pose, this parent mesh of the character is kind of tearing from the clothing asset when I'm applying this pose, and this also happens in, I think, this outfit. So the thing is, not all the poses and animations are going to be compatible with the clothing assets which you're using, so you need to be you need to make sure that the animations which you are applying to any clothing asset, when the asset is being is in use for the character, then the animation should be compatible with the clothing asset. So basically there are certain limits to which the clothing asset can be morphed in its default form, and you need to check that out before deciding if you want to use that clothing asset or not. The rest of the outfits are working fine with all the poses, but some of the clothing assets could have issues with some of the poses, like this one. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it for this video, guys, and I hope that you will find everything which I have done interesting and easy enough to understand. If you have any questions, then you can use the comments section, and feel free to ask me any questions on this video or on the previous video also. If you need me to add another video to this series to do something which you think will help you in your project, then I can think of doing that. And also please subscribe to my channel and like this video if you have watched this one till the end. And yep, have a great time, and we will meet in next video.